I know this is the one you've all been waiting for. As welcome to my official 2025-2026 NFL predictions, where I'll predict every division from top to bottom, while also predicting every award winner. I'll also give a few dark horses to look out for, and ultimately reveal to you my Super Bowl champion. And I've done loads and loads of research, and I've locked the frick in. My predictions last year were so embarrassing, dude. I'm gonna make up for it this year. I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is, and be prepared to get triggered, because you just know it's inevitable. Beginning with last place in the NFC West, where I have the Seattle Seahawks. So what a hot take to start this one off. Now, don't get me wrong here. I do not think the Seahawks are going to be a bad team. I think they just fell victim here to the NFC West, sneakily in my opinion, being one of the deepest divisions in all of football. Huge shift for him at the quarterback position this offseason, moving on from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold. And with that move, I really don't think the Seahawks are going to see much change in production at the quarterback position. I don't think they're going to be much worse. I don't think they're going to be much better. I think the bigger impact that'll be felt is the loss of DK Metcalf to the Steelers. I know they signed grandfather Cooper Kupp, who is still at this point in his career, I think, a pretty solid receiver, but I just don't think he's a really good DK Metcalf replacement. At the same time, I do expect to see a massive step forward from Jackson Smith-Njigba this season. I think he's honestly going to be maybe even a top 5 receiver in terms of production this year. Now, disclaimer, I will say if somehow, some way, Sam Darnold plays out of his skull like he did last year in Minnesota, things will change drastically here. I just don't see it. I think he'll be okay, put up the same numbers as Geno. I think it's fair for now in this very underrated division, in my opinion, that we have him coming in last place, which means in third place, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the Cardinals are a tricky one. I think I'm always a little bit higher on the Cardinals than the rest of the league out there. With Kyler and those weapons, I feel like they have a lot of upside, a lot of potential, but just haven't really been able to meet it the last few years. And I'm drinking the Kool-Aid again. Like, I know that doesn't mean much, put them in third place here, but in a really good division, that still could get them a wild card spot. Absolutely love what they did in the draft. They beefed up that front seven, which they absolutely needed to. Also got a massive steal in the second round in Will Johnson, who, if healthy, probably would have been maybe a top 12 pick. Can talk about beefing up the front seven. I feel like Josh Sweat is a pretty massive addition coming over from the Super Bowl champion Eagles. And is it just me, or does anybody else out there feel like James Conner is one of the most, if not the most, underrated running back in the entire league? If Kyler can finally reach his potential, man, I feel like if he has the best of best years that he's capable of having, I mean, he's an MVP caliber player on his right day if he can play consistent like that the entire season. Has already arguably one of the best tight ends in the league in Trey McBride to throw to, and I do think we're going to see a massive step forward from Marvin Harrison this year. If he can break out and play to his potential, I'm telling you, this offense could be one of the best in the league. So honestly, it would not be shocked if they finish higher than third, but I think for now, this is a safe spot to put them. Which in second place, which was a very tough decision, I have, who might surprise you, the San Francisco 49ers. The problem with them, man, they're just so banged up right now, dude. Half their wide receivers are injured. They lost Debo. Like, Juwan Jennings is probably going to start the season as wide receiver number 1, and for all I know, he might be injured too. Now that I say that, I actually think he is. I think he's dealing with a hamstring injury or something, so I don't even know who their wide receiver 1 is right now. Like, Demarcus Robinson? And the weird thing about the 49ers, which is something that you normally don't say, like, outside of Trent Williams, dude, their offensive line is very mid. I mean, it's not to say the 49ers are not extremely talented all over the field. It's just not as good of a 49ers team than what we've kind of learned to expect probably the last 2-3 seasons. Brock, in my opinion, is overly hated. I love him as a quarterback, but legitimately, he is going to have to prove this season he can win with not the best of talent around him. I definitely do think he's capable of doing that, but he's going to have to prove it on the field this year, and if he does, I mean, I think they definitely still have a chance to win the division. They are another team who beefed up the front seven early on in the draft. Outside of that, I do think the back seven, secondary, I kind of feel like it's a little sketchy. But I do think the 49ers will be a good football team, and I do think, I mean, if anything, they're going to get a wild card spot, but I just don't think they'll be as good as who I have in first place, and that being the Los Angeles Rams. Sean McVay McVay just continues to surprise me every single season. Like, he makes sure to remind you how good of a football coach he is. I just thought they had absolutely no chance to make them playoffs last year, and guess what happened? So before last season, they just went out and lost arguably the greatest defensive player of all time in Aaron Donald, and somehow through the draft, arguably got better on defense. They struck absolute gold in drafting the Florida State Seminole duo in Braden Fisk and Jared Verse. Like, Jared Verse is legitimately a player I would not be surprised if he broke out this year and even won a Defensive Player of the Year this early in his career. They have a sneaky good offensive line. Obviously, Matthew Stafford, still, in my opinion, quite easily a top 10 quarterback in the league. Yep, they lost Cooper Kupp, who hasn't been too effective the last few seasons, obviously because of injury and some other things. But man, they replace him with Davante Adams, and I would not be shocked if this guy puts up Cooper Kupp numbers from 2021. Matt Stafford, Davante Adams, Puka Nacua, not to mention Kyron in the backfield, and not to mention second-round pick tight end Terrence Ferguson could hit the ground running and show that he's a stud from day one. With all the weapons they have and how dangerous their front seven is, dude, I am pretty confident in saying that they're going to win this very good division in the NFC West. Oh man, we're one division down, and I can only imagine how many people were down in the comments screaming at me already. I'm a Madden YouTuber, dude. Like, don't take what I say too seriously. I'm a moron. Although I am almost 100% certain I'm going to get this prediction correct in the NFC South, as in last place, I have the New Orleans Saints. Even as a Titans fan, coming off having the #1 pick, meaning we were the worst team in the league last year, I am overly confident in saying that I don't believe we're going to be even close to as bad as what the Saints are going to be this year. Who's going to be their quarterback? Tyler Shuck? Spencer Rattler? Are they going to rely on 30-year-old Alvin Kamara for another season? Are they going to rely on 35-year-old banged up Taysom Hill? The one saving grace on offense is Chris Olave, and dude, if he gets one more concussion, there's a good chance he just retires. They just had the Honey Badger retire, so that's another massive blow to this year's team. And honestly, I don't even have to go much further. Like, just based on the quarterback position alone, I just don't think there's any chance they finish any higher than 4th in this division. Which brings us to 3rd place, which honest to God was very tough. The NFC South is normally pretty easy to predict, but this year, absolutely not. This one hurts, and this one easily could be one I get wrong, but in 3rd place, I do have the Carolina Panthers. They're going to be a fun football team, don't get me wrong. And I feel like they're going to be drastically improved from last year, but surprisingly, in a division that's normally pretty rough, pretty bad, I think 3rd place in this division still could fight for a wild card spot. I think we are going to see drastic improvement from Bryce Young this season. Absolutely love what they did for Bryce in the draft, selecting Ted McMillan with their 1st round selection. Gives him a legitimate #1 threat at the wide receiver position, which he really hasn't had up to this point in his career. On top of Ted McMillan, Adam Thielen has been a super consistent, reliable receiver for Bryce up to this point. So having him as a wide receiver 2 or maybe even 3 option is phenomenal. And also, me personally, I think we see a massive step forward from Xavier Legette this season. They went really heavy at edge in the draft this year, so I think that's going to help out Derek Brown in that front 7 and that pass rush. Now, linebacker and secondary outside of J.C. Horn is a little weak, so that could be a problem. But I will say, if Ted McMillan hits the ground running, Bryce plays like he did last year, consistently all season long, Xavier Legette plays up to his potential, this is a squad that can surprise everybody and win 10 games this season. Same time, I feel like they're possibly a year, maybe 2 away from being legitimate contenders. So right now, I think 3rd place is an even medium. Which takes us to 2nd place, which again was such a tough decision. Really just kind of came down to a coin flip here. Really could go either way, but as of right now, in 2nd place, I'm going to give the edge to the Atlanta Falcons. I do think this Falcons offense is going to be nasty this season. I'm a big believer in Michael Penix. I think he's going to have a big breakout year. I think Drake London also is going to have a massive season, maybe even be an Offensive Player of the Year discussion. Same could be said about Bijan Robinson. I think he, even though it's going to be hard to top last year, I think he's going to have the best year of his career up to this point. I think he's just going to get better and better. And their big issue the last couple seasons has been pass rush. Went heavy at edge in the draft, got some really good young talented pass rushers. With also having a really good secondary led by Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell, I think they're going to have a pretty solid defense. defense. It just really comes down to how well Michael Penix plays this season. I think he'll be good, but I don't think he'll be near his potential. I think it's going to take him another year or two, but still good enough, in my opinion, to get a wild card berth. I think biggest question for this team is, will somebody finally step up as a solid wide receiver number 2 outside of Drake London? I just don't think they have the complete team, as many weapons, and as good as a pass rush as who I have in first place in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, my God, dude, like, where do I start? Baker Mayfield has been phenomenal here in Tampa Bay. Bucky Irving has been great. Even Rachaad White's a great backup running back. Wide receiver core of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka is insane. I mean, on the O-line, they are arguably the best tackle in the National Football League in Tristan Wirfs. In my opinion, a very solid top to bottom defense as well. Genuinely, I believe, which is something a lot of people might not agree with me on, I think the Buccaneers are one of the most complete teams in the National Football League. So not only do I think they win their division, I think they have a chance to be legitimate Super Bowl contenders this season, which now, for the first time today, takes us into the AFC. We're in the AFC West in last place. Another spot where I believe is one of the easiest decisions of the entire day. In last place, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, hold up, I say that, and I also want to say, I don't think the Raiders are going to be as bad as a lot of people believe. I think they easily could surprise some people and win 7 games. But this division is so good that I think 7 games is not enough to overcome coming in last place. Gino reconnecting with Pete Carroll, I feel like is a great fit. I think Ashton Jeanty is going to hit the ground running, and by the end of the year be considered a top 5 running back, if not be considered a top 5 running back by like week 6. In my opinion, Jeanty is either going to end the season as a top 3 running back, or he's going to end the season as one of the biggest busts of all time. Like, there's no in between here. But outside of Gino, outside of Jeanty, outside of Brock Bowers, who I think is arguably a top 3 tight end right now, and outside of Max Crosby, I feel like this team's a total mess. I mean, just last offseason, they signed Christian Wilkins to a massive contract. In a month before the season, he just got cut from the team for kissing a teammate in the forehead. I just have absolutely no idea what's going on around there. Also, wide receiver outside of Jacoby Myers, also a mess. Maybe Jack Beck, Dante Thornton can really step into the wide receiver 2 role and thrive. But defensively, outside of Max Crosby, I just think this is a bad unit. Again, with Pete Carroll at head coach, I think they'll surprise some people, win more games than expected, but it's not going to be enough to overcome last place. Which takes us into 3rd place. And again, the AFC West, one of the toughest divisions to predict in all of football, dude. This is a tough one. Another toss-up here. In 3rd place, again, this spot could be good enough for a wild card spot, but I do have the Los Angeles Chargers. They're just such a tricky team, dude. Like, I say this, have them in 3rd place. They easily could beat out the Chiefs for 1st place. I mean, as long as Najee still has an eyeball, I think him and Omarion Hampton, their 1st round pick, is going to make a nasty duo at the running back position, especially when you consider they might have the best offensive line in all of football. Like Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt are just going to continue to get better. I love the addition of Mekhi Becton at that right guard position. Also, love the addition of Trey Harris in the draft. I have a feeling he's going to have a massive season as a rookie. Now, surprisingly, when it comes to a Jim Harbaugh-led football team, I don't know how sold I am on this defense as a complete unit. Not to say they won't be solid, I just don't know if it'll be good enough to lead them to 1st place in one of the toughest 1 through 3s in a division in all of football. They're going to have to rely on 95-year-old Khalil Mack for their pass rush. They lost Joey Bosa to the Bills, which, I mean, he's been injured, so it's not that big of a loss. Also, not too sold at who they have at corner. I really think outside of Derwin James at secondary is going to be kind of sus. With Herbert at quarterback, the running back duo they have, and the incredible offensive line, I really think, again, this team at bare minimum wins 9 games, which again I think is only good enough for 3rd place in the AFC West. Which in 2nd place, you probably could have guessed at this point, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Kidding, I'm kidding. You have the Broncos, who are arguably the NFL's most surprising team last year. They were supposed to suck. They were great with what, like $70-80 million in dead cap that just wasn't being spent anywhere. Some of that money freed up, and they were actually able to spend this last offseason. Not to mention, gave Bo Nix another weapon who I think will actually play a massive part in this offense this next season in Evan Ingram. Like, Sean Payton, man, like, just underestimated how good of a head coach this guy is. Like, how insane was it that Bo Nix was so good as a rookie with the terrible weapons that he had? They drafted a solid option option in RJ Harvey. They just signed J.K. Dobbins. And a wide receiver, they didn't do much, but the one addition they did make, I think is going to make a massive difference. And that is Pat Bryant. I believe he was their 3rd round selection. And guys, I just have a hunch he is going to be one of the best draft selections of the last season. I really do think this guy's going to hit the ground running and turn into a very solid receiver. At bare minimum, a good wide receiver number 2 to Courtland Sutton. I think this team is just scary, man. Like, I think their defense is going to be arguably the best in the NFL. I just don't think it's enough quite yet to overcome the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, man. Made it to the Super Bowl last year. Obviously, I know they got blown out. I was there. But I think that blowout loss in the Super Bowl is just going to give them even more motivation to go out and have a massive year. Patrick Mahomes with a chip on his shoulder is not a good thing for the rest of the National Football League. Rashee Rice should be back and healthy. Like, if he didn't get hurt last year, dude, things could have changed drastically. Travis Kelce slimmed down a little bit in the offseason as well, so I think we'll see him return a little bit closer to, his normal form. I don't know if he'll ever be as good as what he was in his prime, but I think he'll be better than what he was last year. And their big issue a year ago, which was exposed in the Super Bowl, was that offensive line, dude. It was terrible. They made a big investment by selecting Josh Simmons in the 1st round out of Ohio State at offensive tackle. And early signs at training camp is he has been phenomenal. So, of course, the Chiefs, at the end of the 1st round, draft a tackle who could turn into an all-pro within a year or 2. So I think if he has a big year, that is going to make a massive difference. Again, for the Chiefs to have a legitimate shot at winning the Super Bowl for, the 10th time in the last 11 seasons. And with that, we stay in the AFC, moving on to my Tennessee Titans division in the AFC South, where no, I don't have my Titans in last place. Bite me on that. I'm actually going to put money where my mouth is on it. But for now, in last place, bite me if you disagree, I have the Indianapolis Colts. I just don't like what's going on in Indy right now. I really think this could be Chris Ballard's last season, and honestly, I think Colts fans would be happy about that. I'm out on Anthony Richardson. I know he's only like 22 years old. I know he's younger than half the rookies from a year ago. Don't trust the health of his shoulder long term. He's just so inaccurate. I actually am disappointed in myself for backtracking. When I did my quarterback rankings going into his rookie season, I talked about how bad I thought he was going to be and how overrated he was so inexperienced, his super raw traits. Didn't even look good in college. And then I backtracked after like a week or two and he looked okay. And then he just turned out to be what I thought he was. And Anthony Richardson, being exactly what I thought he was, is not good enough to do any better than last place in the NFC South. I mean, honest to God, would not shock me at all if Daniel Jones ended up the actual starter for the Colts in week 1. Don't really like the wide receiver room at all. Michael Pittman, I think very overrated. I think people are really starting to learn like what he really is. Josh Downs, I actually think is their best receiver. Like, if he leads them in receiving yards this season, I wouldn't be surprised. He's actually, I think, a really solid receiver. Alec Pierce is Alec Pierce. Nothing special, but at least a reliable target. I do believe they have an argument for having the best offensive line in the division, which really doesn't say much. I just don't think it'll be enough to overcome how bad their quarterback position is going to be. At the same time, on defense, man, I just don't think it's a good unit. I have a pretty good secondary and a few good D tackles, but outside of that, dude, it's a very average overall unit. I just don't think they have any chance to finish it any higher than last place this year. Which does bring us to 3rd place, which I have the Houston Texans. Unfortunately, I am kidding. This is where I have my Tennessee Titans. Like I said, I am putting money where my mouth is, fellas. If my Titans finish in last place for a 2nd consecutive season, I will give $500 to a charity that is a top comment below. I am just a big believer in Cam Ward. He might struggle this first season. I don't know. I'm not sitting here to claim to be any sort of like football guru, dude. I make Madden videos for a living. But I sat there and watched so much Cam Ward film, and I'm like, am I stupid? Like, what am I missing? And no, he makes some errant throws sometimes, some bad decisions. Like, I think day one has some of the best arm talent in the National Football League. Like, he has arm talent comparable, no, I'm not saying he's there, but comparable arm talent to your Patrick Mahomes, your Josh Allens. He just has to up the processing speed. He has to make better decisions. I just think he has all the potential in the world. Now, he's not stepping into the best of situations, obviously. I still don't know how much I believe in Brian Callahan. I don't like him that much, but I need for him to be good enough to at least keep his job for another season, so Cam Ward going into year 2 doesn't have to learn a whole entire new system. So you got to keep in mind, man, he's had to move to 4 different states, 4 different cities out of the last 5 years. He's not been able to just sit in the same town, same city, learn the same offense for more than 2 years. So if he can just have a little bit of continuity, man, just sit in the same spot for a couple seasons, like, what kind of potential does this guy really have? So I just need the team to win like 7 games and just Brian Callahan not to get fired. But outside of Cameron, because I could sit here for 15, 20 minutes just talking about him alone, there's not many bright spots in the team, not gonna lie. Outside, let's say maybe Calvin Ridley. You can mark this down too. I think Calvin Ridley might have the best statistical season of his career. He's gonna be Cam Ward's go-to, and their strengths really match up to perfection. I think they're gonna mesh perfectly, and Calvin Ridley put up over 1,000 yards with garbage Will Levis and Mason Rudolph throwing him the football. But who's gonna step up behind him? Because he's probably gonna be the wide receiver too. Is it gonna be Alec Iomanor? Is it gonna be Xavier Restrepo? Is it going to be Chimere Dike? Just kind of a bleak wide receiver room outside of Calvin Ridley, and that's just not the best of situations, you know, for your young quarterback. Chika Okonkwo, we're hoping he can break out. Gunnar Helm could be the tight end number 1. It's just a really young team, a really young offense, a pretty young defense too. Now, the biggest problem on the team, outside of some of the holes on offense and having a young quarterback, is our pass rush. Genuinely, this is what's going to hold this team back. We are going to have, bar none, not even a question, the worst pass rush in the National Football League. We have Femi Oladejo, young rookie who's literally played a half a season edge. A converted off-the-ball linebacker at UCLA last year. We drafted him with our 2nd round selection. He has all the raw traits, raw potential in the world. I just don't know if he's going to be able to hit the ground running. It might be like a 2-3 year project. I know I harped on my team for a long time. I'm just excited for the season, dude. I don't know, just bite me. We're not going to be good, but I don't think we're going to be as bad as we were last year. Not even close. I think I'm pretty confident that we're not going to come in last place. Again, $500 to a charity if we do come in last place. So I think you guys are well aware we have the greatest time of the year, a football season rapidly approaching us, which is exactly why I'm here to tell you about my special hookup with today's sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the planet's #1 rated ticketing app with over 28 million downloads. Big reason why? So they have over 70,000 events listed on the app, sports, concerts, festivals, and more. And I think by this moment in time, you guys know how much I love myself some SeatGeek. Got the receipts to prove it, as every single sporting event I've attended for the last 6 years, I've used SeatGeek. Not to mention that SeatGeek is super simple to use, as every single ticket on their platform is rated on a scale from 1 to 10, so you know exactly when you're getting a good deal. This is important. Make sure you look for the green dots, as green means good, red means bad. Plus, every single ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And you guys already know I got a special hookup for you, as you can use code RBT10 to get 10% off your next tickets at SeatGeek. Again, that's 10% off any tickets at SeatGeek with promo code RBT10. Which brings us to second, which again, this was really tough. And this is actually where I have the Houston Texans. It'll be the first time they haven't came in first in, 2 years now? And there is one reason, and one reason only, I had the Texans in second and not first. That's because of how bad their offensive line is, man. They got even worse than last year. Yeah, Ariante Ursary out of Minnesota in the 2nd round, but I'm not the biggest fan of him either. I just really think we're going to have the worst offensive line in the division by far. They're still going to be good, though, and they still could snag a wild card spot. I mean, I think C.J. Stroud really had a sophomore slump last year, but I would expect him to rebound. I just don't know how far the team can go with the offensive line. Joe Mixon, too, he's kind of banged up, and he was a big part of their offense last year. A wide receiver room is going to be interesting, though. Nico Collins, obviously, phenomenal. Who's going to be the wide receiver 2 now that Tank Dell's definitely out for the season? It's going to be Christian Kirk, who they got for a 7th round pick from the Jags. Is it going to be one of the rookies in Jaden Higgins or Jalen Noel? Their defense, also fine. Front 7's going to be great. Incredible pass rush. By far, I believe, the best pass rush in the division. I just think we're really at the point in the National Football League where if you have a bad offensive line, you can only go so far. I really have them like the 9-10 win mark right now, and I don't know if that's enough for first place. I don't know why. I just have a whim. I got the Jags in first. I just really do like their head coach hire, Liam Cohen. I just really think he's a great fit with Trevor Lawrence, which Trevor Lawrence still hasn't shown exactly what we thought we were going to see from him coming out of the draft. He's going on, year 5 now? So, it's It's now or never, buddy. We've seen flashes, and maybe the guy who's able to turn Baker Mayfield into a top 10 quarterback can do the same with Trevor Lawrence. And man, he's got weapons like Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter now, who I think definitely makes for, can I say, one of the best 1-2 punches in the league day one? Here's my hot take 2. This is a crazy one out of left field. I'm really excited about Brenton Strange. I think he could be this year's surprise, maybe fantasy winner at the tight end position. I've been drafting a lot of them. Now, my one question mark for them offensively is that offensive line. Like, I know I said the Texans' offensive line was a big reason I had them in second. I do think the Texans' offensive line is much worse than the Jags, although I don't think I'd consider the Jags' offensive line a good unit. I know I said the Texans have the best pass rush in the division, but the Jags aren't that far behind. Josh Allen, obviously insane. Trayvon Walker starting to really hit his groove. Secondary could be iffy, but like, is Travis Hunter really going to play both ways? If so, I mean, that could definitely help out, because I think the weak point of their team is that secondary. Whoever's offensive line has the better season will win the division. And as of right now, I think that's going to be the Jags. Now, all these divisions have been tough to predict up to this point. Let me tell you, the NFC North, I believe, is the hardest division to predict in all of football, bar none, not even close. Literally, all 4 teams could finish in either of the positions. Whoever I have here in last place, wouldn't be shocked if they came in first. I will say, as a fan of a team in the AFC South, I would believe the 4th place team in the NFC North would more than likely win the AFC South. So there you go. But last place in the NFC North, I have the Minnesota Vikings. Sole reason, and I promise you, sole reason, is because of the unknown in J.J. McCarthy. I hope he's good. I like him. I think he'll be good, but you just don't know. And when this division is so hard to predict, that unknown makes it hard to put them anywhere higher than last. If he has a good season, they can win the division. Obviously, great weapons in Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. I really like that running back duo with Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. TJ Hawkinson is going to be back to 100%. Very, very good offensive line as well. So, I mean, J.J. McCarthy has weapons around him to succeed. The question is, will he? Also, such a great top-to-bottom defense. Cannot believe I have them in last place. Like, Dallas Turner hasn't even hit his stride yet. Like, if he gets going, oh my god. I mean, you didn't hear much negative out of me. Again, I just don't think the Vikings going to be a bad team at all. It just sucks that they're in this division. It also sucks from a 3rd place team. I'm sorry, Tom Grossi. This is where I have the Packers. Again, the big question mark here, Jordan Love. Can he play a full season at the level that we all know he's capable of? Last year was too inconsistent, I believe, man. They finally drafted a wide receiver in the 1st round in Matthew Golden. He's wearing 22, so that makes me feel really uncomfortable. But overall, is that going to be enough to really take that unit to the next level? A bunch of wide receiver number 2s outside of Matthew Golden, maybe. Maybe he's the one that completely changes the dynamic. I do love Tucker Kraft, though. I think Tucker Kraft has potential to be a top 10 tight end by the end of the year. Defense, too, man. Pass rush should be good. And outside of Xavier McKinney and maybe Nate Hobbs, even the secondary isn't, the greatest in the world. Again, good Packers team. Sucks to have them in 3rd place. But again, 3rd place in the NFC North still might be good enough for a wild card spot. So don't count them out to go on a playoff run. Now to our controversial 2nd place team in the North, where I have the Chicago Bears. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Ben Johnson, what a fit with the weapons that they have. I think Caleb Williams is going to break out this year. That wide receiver room, though, brother, is scary. DJ Moore. Roma Dunze, I think, is going to have a breakout year. And they got their talented Luther Burden. Now as a wide receiver 3 in the 2nd round. Great value. Obviously, the offensive line is always a question mark with the Bears, and I don't think it got much better. I say that like they didn't just sign Joe Thuney, one of the best guards in the league. So yeah, the interior will be a little bit improved. The tackles are just still a big question mark, and you're really sometimes only as good as your tackles are. And overall, man, that defense is pretty good from top to bottom. Like, no real weak points. I just think they're a very good overall team from top to bottom with no real weaknesses outside of maybe the tackle position and running game. I think Ben Johnson will be able to scheme up a running game regardless of who's back there. I just think, man, again, drinking the Kool-Aid, but it just makes too much sense on paper. This is a paper pick. It just makes too much sense for them not to finish in 2nd place, which obviously leads the Detroit Lions to win the division once again. I know they definitely took some hits on that offensive line. That obviously is a question mark. Will they be able to continue the same offensive pace they have the last few years? Obviously, the big question, how will they perform without Ben Johnson? How much Was he actually contributing to the overall success of that offense? That is the big question mark, but at this point in time, I've just learned not to question Dan Campbell, man. I still think they're going to be good enough to win the division. It'll be close. I wouldn't be shocked if they did win the division. Again, like, nothing would shock me in this division. If the Lions came in last place with like 8-9 wins, would not be surprised. But I still think they have more than enough, man. Jared Goff has been great. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is take another step forward this year. I think Jameson Williams could have a breakout. Like, I wouldn't be shocked, too, if he ended up with more yards than Amon St. Brown this season. I think Sam Laporta is going to play this season like everybody expected him to play in year 2. I love the Tate Ratledge pick. I think he's going to be a plug-and-play star, and I honestly think he's a guy that has all-pro potential. Just a perfect fit in that Lions offense. A lot of my prediction with him in first place, though, relies on the health of Aiden Hutchinson. He's supposed to come back fully healthy. He was on track to have a generational year last year. What was he on track? Like 20-something sacks? And there was some clips that came out of, him running around, rehabbing, and didn't look like he, felt too good in that leg. But he's supposed to be good. I put my faith in him. I don't count him out, man. So as long as he's back healthy, back to form, his front 7 should be fine. I love their draft pick of Tyleek Williams. Such a freaking run stuffer. And it had so many injuries last year, dude. So adding depth like that is just exactly what this defense needed. Speaking of losing coordinators, I forgot. They lost both coordinators. So I guess it's so many moving parts. But still, I think the heart and soul of that team, Dan Campbell, I think they're going to be fine. That takes our journey to the AFC East, where in last place at the New York Jets. I really don't think it'll be close. I really just think it's kind of a bridge year. I'm not a believer in Justin Fields. His weapons are very scarce outside of Garrett Wilson, who I do think, at least for fantasy purposes, is going to have a great year. He's going to have 1 million targets. Running backs can be interesting. I mean, they have a good deep room. You would think Breece Hall would have a good year. The offensive line is a little sketchy with some really young offensive tackles. I mean, I think we all know the defense hasn't been the problem with the Jets. The defense has been pretty good the last few years. It's just been the offense, and I really think that trend's just going to continue with Justin Fields at quarterback. Takes us into my third place pick, which I have the Miami Dolphins. Let's talk about them getting Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey, by the way. Like, what in the world? I think that's a W for them. Although corner's kind of garbage for him now, especially with who was supposed to be their cornerback 1, Kader Kohu, now out for the season with a knee injury. I have absolutely zero idea who's supposed to be that cornerback 1 now, but maybe even a bigger question mark than the cornerback position, the offensive line. And a common theme today, your offensive line isn't good, more than likely not going to predict your team to finish in first place. I mean, I know Tua has been off every now and then, but I think he's good enough to, lead a team to 10 or so wins. And obviously their weapons are fine, although I really don't know how I feel about 95-year-old rapper Darren Waller coming back out of retirement. I think it's kind of weird trading Jonnu Smith like they did. I even think we can see a little mini breakout from Malik Washington. They also stole my favorite player of all time in Nick Westbrook-Akine, the touchdown legend. The offensive line is really going to be what drags his team down. Secondary is going to be wonky outside of Minkah. Although, as long as they stay healthy, they have maybe even the best pass rush in the division, which does mean in second place, I have the New England Patriots. As a Titans fan, man, Mike Vrabel, I feel like this is the perfect fit. I was a big Mike Vrabel guy, and I always had nightmares of him one day leaving for the Patriots job. He did get fired, so he didn't just leave the Titans for the Patriots job, but it still feels as bad. But Patriots fans, what you're going to see is a coach get as much as physically possible out of the talent on their team. I know he struggled the last few seasons as head coach, but I'll tell you right now, the talent on the Patriots roster is head and shoulders above what the Titans had the last 2 seasons Mike Vrabel was head coach. What you're also going to see is some of the best red zone defense you've ever seen. Your defense is going to get absolutely sliced up all the way into the red zone, and then you're going to force them to a field goal every single time. It's going to keep you in games. I promise you, you're going to be so confused on how that happens. You're going to have one of the best red zone defenses, if not the best red zone defense in National Football League year 1. But I am actually really excited to see what Vrabel does with a quarterback like Drake May. Like, Tannehill was really good for the first few years of Mike Vrabel's tenure, but not nearly as physically gifted with an arm like a quarterback like Drake May. So let's see what happens happens there. The running games can be interesting. Who gets more carries? Ramondre or the rookie Travion Henderson? That wide receiver room really is the big question. Is Stephon Diggs still the guy? If so, this offense could be a lot better than expected. They really do, though, need somebody to step up as a solid wide receiver 2 behind him. That'd be Demario Douglas, who's been good. I mean, I think he's an okay wide receiver 2, maybe wide receiver 3. I'm a big believer in rookie Kyle Williams, who I really wanted my Titans to get. Would not be shocked if he hit the ground running and put up a solid 600, 700 yards as a rookie. Or will it be the undrafted rookie legend Efton Chisholm? If they have somebody step up as a solid wide receiver 2 and 3, this offense could be sneaky good. O-line is a little iffy. I think Will Campbell will be great at left tackle, but somehow Vrabel was able to get like so much production with terrible offensive line, so I wouldn't worry about that. Don't know how much pass rush this team has. Like, the defensive talent is actually pretty poor. I think there's actually less talent on the defense than there is on the offense. I mean, they were able to spend some money, brought in Robert Spillane, brought in Carlton Davis at the cornerback position. The team will absolutely be able to stop the run. I just don't know if they'll have enough pass rush to really be able to win this division, but Mike Vrabel will, I think, easily be able to lead this team to 9 wins, and I think that will be good enough to come in second place in this division, which obviously means the Buffalo Bills wins it once again, which is no shocker at all. I would be so surprised if they didn't win the division. I love what they did in the draft. I love the Maxwell Hairston pick. The James Cook situation is a little interesting because if he gets traded, which I don't think he will, I don't think he should hold out either. That could change things, but if James Cooks plays, he's still going to be a really good running back, a really good asset for this offense. I mean, even if something happened to him, I think Josh Allen would still find a way to be a top 5 offense. Now, wide receiver is the big question. If somebody can step up, this team, again, legitimate Super Bowl contender. Maybe they truly are relying and expecting Keon Coleman to step into that wide receiver number 1 role. I mean, Khalil Shakir is great and all, but I just don't think he's a legitimate wide receiver 1. If they legitimately want to be a Super Bowl contender, I think they're going to need Dalton Kincaid to step into a role that was expected from him after his first season where he had put up really good numbers. It's just kind of disappointing last year. If Joey Bosa can stay healthy, though, this pass rush is going to be phenomenal. Also, like the sneaky addition of Shaq Thompson at linebacker. I don't know why I got into deep dive analysis there, dude. It's the Bills. They're going to win the division unless Josh Allen gets hurt or something. Another division that may or may not be as obvious, at least 4th place, I do think is obvious. That's the Giants. And here's a pretty big step behind the other teams in this division. Now, I have to say that Giants front 7 could be nasty and will actually give the Eagles a run for their money for best front 7 in the division. With how bad the team is outside of that, I just don't think they have any chance finishing any higher than last place. Like, who's going to play quarterback? I'm assuming Russell Wilson, but outside of Malik Neighbors, what do they really have? Outside of Andrew Thomas at offensive line is still diabolical. Abdul Carter being drafted into a front 7 with Dexter Lawrence, with Brian Burns, that's just not fair. So overall, I think the quarterback position, I think the lack of weapons outside of Malik Neighbors and that terrible offensive line makes me pretty comfortable with my selection having them in last place, which brings us in 3rd place, the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys kind of a mess right now, dude. Like, the entire team hates Jerry Jones. Like, Micah Parsons is mad. Jerry Jones is throwing their quarterback under the bus. So it's kind of a mess over there right now, just like their running back room is a mess. I don't know who in the world is going to be their starter. The George Pickens edition definitely is interesting, but in Dallas, in such a big market where things are kind of wonky already, like, how's he really going to fit? Is he going to cause some problems? Another team, man, where I think the offensive line's really going to let them down. Like, really, I mean, the running back situation is kind of iffy, but they got some great weapons, but you're really only as good as what your offensive line is. I do love their 2nd round selection of Donovan Ezeraiku. Him and Micah Parsons, if Micah Parsons doesn't get traded, will be nasty. But outside of that on defense, maybe outside of corner, really weak unit. Just don't think they have what it takes to keep up with the other teams in their division, such as 2nd place, the Washington Commanders. We all saw what the Commanders were able to do last year. I think they'll be able to replicate it, especially considering they got quite a bit better in the offseason, unless Jaden Daniels goes through the same sophomore slump as what a CJ Stroud did. But dude, they were able to add Deebo Samuel as a weapon for Jaden Daniels, which as long as he can be in shape, should be a valuable asset. Offensive line should be solid, just like it was last year. They brought in Laramie Tunsil, dude. What a freaking move for already a Super Bowl contender. They drafted Josh Connerly with their 1st round pick. So, our offensive line that was pretty good last year got beefed up quite a bit. I guess that's pretty drastic changes. I mean, simple enough. I probably could have kept it short and sweet like this. As long as Jaden Daniels can take a step forward and avoid regressing and having a sophomore slump, this team should be fine here in second place, get a wild card berth, maybe even win like 11, maybe even potentially 12 games, and again, be a Super Bowl contender. To think this one was obvious from the get-go, we have the Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champions, winning the division. I mean, is there really much else to say, dude? Their offensive line off the charts. As long as Jalen Hurts and Saquon stay healthy, they'll have arguably the best offense in the league. Got an incredible pick with their first rounder in Jahad Campbell. That defense that was already arguably the best in the league got even better. One of my favorite picks in the draft was the Andrew Makuba pick. It's crazy the amount of talent just always falls to the Eagles, man. It's not fair. So let's now roll into the AFC North, who arguably, I know I already mentioned the NFC North as the toughest division to predict. The AFC North has an argument they're even tougher. The reason I don't think so is that last place in the Cleveland Browns, easy pick. It's not even close. Their quarterback situation, like, who's gonna start? Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders? Like, come on. Their running back pick, Judkins, who is supposed to be phenomenal, already arrested. Outside of Jerry Jeudy, that wide receiver room is kind of bleak. I mean, they got Myles Garrett, but like, that's not gonna save them, man. Browns last place easy. Third place, though, not as easy to predict. I mean, bite me for this. Have the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, their offensive weapons off the chart. Maybe the best quarterback, wide receiver trio in the National Football League. They're a mess right now, dude. Their first round pick, Shamar Stewart, literally just signed like 2 days ago. Also, Trey Hendrickson, one of the best edge rushers in the league, is pissed off because they will not give him the contract extension that he wants. Which is so much money going to Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, his extension. They're just not able to put adequate money into the offensive line, which has been terrible, a consistent terrible in Joe Burrow's reign. Some of the weaknesses on defense can't get addressed. They don't have the money for it. I feel about Shamar Stewart like I did with Anthony Richardson. I think he is going to be a bust. That's my hot take. I just don't think they have what it takes to keep up with the rest of the teams in this division. Although, again, third place in this division could be enough, 9 wins or so, make the playoffs with a wild card spot. So Bengals fans, don't hate me, Dukes. If you make the playoffs with a wild card spot, you can still go on a playoff run with Joe Burrow, which having the Bengals below the Steelers, I know probably gonna shock a lot of you. Here's my hot take. I feel like Aaron Rodgers gets way too much slack for his performance last year. The Jets were a mess, dude, from top to bottom. And like, I know this is just stat watching. He put up pretty good numbers. I know there were situations where he wasn't really clutch, but I just feel like he's Aaron Rodgers, so he can take heat regardless. He's the best quarterback the Steelers have had since Big Ben, and I don't think it's close. I know they traded George Pickens, but they replaced him with DK Metcalf. I love the Caleb Johnson selection at running back. I think he's going to end up one of the better running backs out of this last draft class. And I think you can see a heavy dose of him with Jaylen Warren in this backfield, because they're going to have to rely on that running game a lot, which I think should be a solid duo. I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to rely a lot on both of his tight ends, Pat Freiermuth and new addition in Jonnu Smith. I think you'll see a lot of targets go to them too. But I think for what it's worth, it's not obviously a perfect situation, but I think they'll be fine with the options they have at wide receiver right now. Their offensive line should be good enough. You're going to play Steelers football with Mike Tomlin. Their offense will put up enough points for them to win a lot of football games with how good their defense is going to be. TJ Watt is TJ Watt. I think he has another 15 sack season in him. I love their pick of Darren Harmon, man. He just adds even more beef to that front seven. Really befuddled, though, still about the Jalen Ramsey trade. I don't know why they would get rid of Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's just weird, but I guess at least our cornerback room is better because of it. Obviously, safety production is going to dip quite a bit. At the end of the day, dude, it's the Steelers defense. They have the best pass rush in this division by quite a margin. But I think sound fundamental offense and an incredible defense is going to be enough to catapult the Steelers into second place and maybe 10 wins. Which, of course, leaves the Ravens for first place once again in the AFC North. Scary thing, dude, I think this could be the best version of the Ravens we have seen since Lamar Jackson has taken over at the quarterback position. Which, is like 7 years now? But again, man, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, do we need to even speak on them anymore? Like, they're still, even at this point in their careers, playing the best football we've ever seen from them, and that's going to continue and maybe even get better. I know D-Hop is what he is at this point in his career, but I think he is an incredible addition to that locker room, and him as a wide receiver 3 in the Ravens offense, I feel like could be sneaky good. And the Ravens might honestly have the best cornerback room in the National Football League, man. They pick up Jair Alexander. They brought over Jadobi Awuzie from my Titans. Malachi Starks, who I believe is a phenomenal draft pick. Like, how are you supposed to get open? Already an incredible front 7, got even better with the addition of Mike Green. And there's some off-the-field stuff there, but just as a pure football player, dude, I think he has 10+ sack potential. So there's my official divisional picks. Now, I do quickly want to point out some of my dark horse teams. Some of the teams I had predicted 3rd, maybe 4th, I think very easily can maybe win their divisions and possibly even go on a mini Super Bowl run. Maybe at least win a playoff game or 2. First, the Minnesota Vikings. I know I already kind of harped on them. I said they very easily can finish in 1st place. They're such a good team. Deep on defense, incredible weapons on offense. Again, it just all comes down to J.J. McCarthy, man. If he can have a good year like we know he's capable of having, it's just an unknown. I don't think he can play as well as Sam Darnold did last year. I just don't think that's possible in his first season. But if he can be serviceable, this team has the talent around him to go on a run. Next, we have the Carolina Panthers. Such a fun team. I think they're going to be this year. Everything can go right. If everything can gel together, if everybody can take a step forward, this team could be sneaky. If Bryce can play like we know Bryce can on a consistent basis, I think this team could kind of have like a Washington Commanders kind of a surgence out of nowhere. Chargers are another one. Never doubt Jim Harbaugh. Again, you're only as good as your offensive line is. They have arguably the best, deepest unit in the National Football League. You combine that with a good running back duo, a great quarterback in Justin Herbert, and some other young, intriguing pass catchers. I think they have a chance where they could go on a run maybe all the way. And last dark horse, before we get into some award winners, I have the Seattle Seahawks. I know I had them coming in last place in their division. If Sam Darnold can play like Sam Darnold played last year, if Cooper Kupp can reach at least like 75% of his prime, I think this team could be sneaky. It's just too many ifs for me to really believe it, but I could see it, which is why they're a dark horse for me. Moving on to our award winners, starting with my Defensive Player of the Year prediction, Aiden Hutchinson. Again, a big if, and it all relies if he comes back 100% healthy. A lot of people don't think he will. I believe in the guy. He was on an insane pace last year, man. He, I think, has all the makings of the world to be the best pass rusher in the National Football League. I think he's going to step up on that defense, put up insane numbers. I'm going to predict, if healthy, all year long, 18 sacks, which should win him Defensive Player of the Year. Now, Offensive Player of the Year. Going to kind of go left field here, although I really don't know if this is left field. I'm going to go Bijan Robinson. As I make this pick, I do want to say, if I do not get one of these award winners correct, I will give away, let's say, $250 to charity. I mean, there's not many weapons outside of him. Drake London, the yards got to go somewhere, and I think they're going to have a good offense. I could see something crazy like 1,600 rushing yards. Maybe like 15, 16 touchdowns on the ground. Maybe 400, 500 yards through the air, which could very well be good enough to win Offensive Player of the Year. Definitely has all the tools in the world to become the best running back in the National Football League. And I think this could be the year where he really starts to make that claim. Next up, Rookie of the Year predictions. Starting on defense, where I have probably an obvious one, Abdul Carter. I think the guy is a beast, dude. I think he's going to hit the ground running. Maybe even put up 10, 11 sacks as a rookie. He's one of the best pass rushers we've seen in the last probably 5 years. And with the other pass rushers that defense has, man, he's going to be free to go after the quarterback, man. He's not going to get double teamed. I think he could have a phenomenal year, which leads us to our Offensive Rookie of the Year prediction. A lot of people predict Ashton Jeanty. Of course they do. Any other year, it'd be a quarterback for the Offensive Rookie of the Year prediction. But no, dude, I believe in my guy, Cameron Ward. I'm not saying he's going to go out and put up 4,000 yards or anything, but think easy, like maybe 3,100, 200 yards, maybe 20-something touchdowns, which, as a quarterback, should be enough to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, on that pick alone, I'll put up another $100. If Cam Ward does not win Offensive Rookie of the Year, it's another $100 to charity. Brother, I might go broke. Leads us into our last award winner prediction, Comeback Player of the Year, which is another obvious one, especially with my Defensive Player of the Year prediction, Aiden Hutchinson, dude. Honestly, even if he just has a mid-year for his standards, like 10 sacks or so, he's winning the award. I feel the most confident, honestly, out of all my award picks on this one. Maybe this will be the pick that saves me some money. Now time to get to the nitty-gritty, boys. Our conference champions, who will be meeting up in the Super Bowl. Beginning with my NFC pick. Will it be the Eagles again? Will the Commanders take a step forward from last year and actually make it to the big game? Will the Lions finally get over the hump, win the conference after losing both their coordinators? My NFC conference champion for, I think, the second year in a row, the Detroit Lions. I just have too much faith in Dan Campbell, man. I think it is going to happen. If every other one of my predictions comes into fruition, Aiden Hutchinson goes off, 17 sacks, Defensive Player of the Year. As long as that offensive line holds up, I think this team, once again, even though they lost a few offensive linemen, will be right back in the thick of things. They just can't go on the run they've been on the last few years and not win the conference at least one time. I believe in them. I keep predicting them to win the conference. It'll eventually happen. Now on to the AFC. In this one, I actually feel pretty confident about. The Chiefs? No. The Bills? Maybe finally? No. Your AFC champions? The Baltimore Ravens. I know I kind of already said about the Bucs, but I do ultimately think the Ravens are the most complete team from top to bottom in the National Football League. Like, what weaknesses do they have? Like, maybe wide receiver, but like, I think Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, who took a massive step forward last year, and DeAndre Hopkins with their tight end options, that is plenty of options. I already told you, probably the best secondary in the National Football League. So I am actually very, very confident. Barring injury, obviously all these predictions are barring injury. I'm very confident the Ravens will be your AFC conference representative in the Super Bowl, which comes down, obviously, Lions, Ravens, who will be your 2025-2026 Super Bowl champions. I have the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell finally getting it done. Kidding. Have the Ravens. The Ravens and Derrick Henry. Gotta see him lift the trophy, man. This is gonna make me cry, but I think this is the year. Lamar Jackson's gotta get it done eventually, right? This team is too good, is too deep. I have so many Lions fans that probably hate me right now. But hey, dude, at least I said your team is making it to the Super Bowl. Go ahead, let me know how dumb I am in the comments. Let me know your predictions as well. I want to see how triggered you guys are. This is a video every year you guys go crazy, so let's hear it. Let's hear what I got wrong, what I got right. And if you enjoyed that one, you can click right here to watch another banger on the channel where I promise you I won't make you as mad. It'll actually be a good video where you can smile, be happy. And also, can you subscribe? I don't know what I did to earn your subscription there because you're probably very angry right now and those cortisol levels are spiking, but still, make me happy.